Are you ready to take your message, your business, and your life to the next level?
Want to learn from someone with more than a decade of experience, training tens of thousands of people from all around the world?
Hi, Cliff. This is Pauline from Auckland, New Zealand.
John from Calgary, Alberta.
Amy Porterfield.
Michael Hyatt.
Dan here from Dunedin, New Zealand.
Ray Edwards. Mark Mason. Mike Stelzner.
Pat from Smart Passive Income.
It's Darren from Melbourne, Australia.
Now is the time to live the life of your dreams and do the work you feel most called to do in the world.
Welcome to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show.
Here's your host, Cliff Ravenscraft.
That's right, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. And today we're going to start off with a little confession. A little confession time, my friends. And it has everything to do with what I shared back in episode number 546. That episode was the one I titled, What You Believe About Who You Are Will Determine Your Outcome. Now, I released that podcast episode back on May 10th, and today is Friday, June 8th, as I'm recording this. So we're 1 month later, okay? But it was May 10th when I recorded that podcast episode, and I'm not going to go, that was a 2-hour podcast episode, by the way, for those of you who have not yet listened to that. And I'm not going to recap everything, but I am going to just give you a little bit of an update, and I need to give some background here, and I promise you it will take very, very, very few minutes here, because I have an outline, and I'm not going to ramble on. But here's what I said. In that episode, I said that the actions that we take in life are reflective of our beliefs about who we are, or our identity, if you will. I told the story of having achieved my goal of getting under 200 pounds. I started out at 272 pounds, but I had got below that 200, and I talked about my entire weight loss journey and the road it took to get under 200. And how after I got under 200 pounds, I made a commitment to the world, and I had adopted a new identity that said, I will never, in my lifetime, I will never be I will never be more than 200 pounds ever again in my life. However, I also shared that I wasn't finished. My ultimate goal wasn't to be just like 199 pounds. My goal was to get to 180. My desire, if you will, was to get to 180. But once I hit that 200 milestone, and although my goal was 180, I went weeks, and I'm not even sure now. It's been a while. I could look it up, but that's not the whole point of this. It was all covered in episode 546 in great detail. But the thing is I struggled, if you will, to get down to 180, which was my desire at that point. I had created a new goal to get to 180. But my identity had not shifted, and as a result of that, I spent several weeks, maybe months, hovering somewhere between 195 and going all the way up to 200. Never, by the way, ever going above 200. I still to this day, I've never been above 200. But I explained in that episode that I believe that my issue is that I have not yet adopted this new identity. Throughout the fitness journey, my identity is clearly I work out 6 days a week, every week for the rest of my life. Done deal. I will never eat sugary snacks again in my life. That's a done deal. And I will never weigh over 200 pounds. That's a done deal. Those three things, they are so much a part of who I am today. There's no way I will allow myself to take any action that is not congruent with that identity about who I am. But in episode 549, I explained, I exclaimed, I shared with the world as of that moment in time on May 10th, or whenever I recorded that. It was actually a live stream, so it was probably even a week before that. But I shared that even though at that moment in time, I was more than 180 pounds, that I was adopting a new identity, a new belief about who I am. I am making a commitment. I will never be above 180 pounds again. And right now I am, and that's unacceptable. Now, after I shared all of that, I explained that people tell you that the last 10 pounds are the hardest, and once you get down to a certain thing, it's difficult to maintain. And I exclaimed that I do not accept those as reality. I do not accept those as truth. I accept those as things people believe, but I do not believe them. I do not believe it's more difficult to lose the last 10 pounds. I do not believe it's more difficult to maintain weight. I do not believe that it's physically, there's something in the body that makes that difficult. I believe some very real things about what it would take to get those. And I know hundreds of people who are able to successfully lose those last 10 pounds. And there are techniques, strategies, formulas for doing so. And yes, there are healthy ones without surgery and without supplements or any other kind of medications, if you will. So I shared all of that. Episode 549, and I exclaimed that by the time my daughter graduates, which is May 30th, by the end of May, I will be under 180 pounds. So here we are, Friday, June 8th. It's a week after that deadline. And this morning, I received an email from a client who's getting ready to start working with me through my one-on-one mentoring package, which, by the way, this is the one thing I don't have listed on my website. I've got a section on there that shows you can work with me. And there's, you can come to Free the Dream Conference. You can come to my Building an Online Business workshop here in the Next Level Studio. And I think, are those the only two things that I have listed there? I think they're the only two things listed on there as for, no, there's the podcast mastermind. You can be a part, you can have me as your mentor and be a part of an ongoing community of people who are taking all areas of their life, especially their business pursuits, to the next level through the Next Level Mastermind. So those are the three things that are listed. I do have a fourth way people can work with me, but I don't advertise it a lot because, quite frankly, word of mouth gets around, and it's how people hear about this mentoring package. And every now and then, I drop a little mention of it here in the podcast. And this client, his name is Marco. He heard about it in the podcast. He says, dude, I didn't know you had this $3,500 package. I want that. And so if you're interested, I only mention it here every now and then. And the reason why is because, I don't want to take away from the focus of marketing on my Work With Me page for this mentoring package, because it's not easily available all of the time. I usually take on 1 to 3 one-on-one mentoring clients per month, because I only do these calls on Tuesdays, and I only have enough time for 1 to 3 people per month is typically what I have. And without actually putting it on my website, without doing any email blasts to my list, I always have 1 to 3 clients that reach out to me. So Marco, by the way, signed up, and it is 3 1-hour mentoring sessions with me, 3 one-on-one video mentoring calls via Zoom. And the only thing is it's $3,500, and those calls have to be used within a 90-day period of time. So you could do 1 call per month for 3 months. But if you wanted to, you could pay the $3,500 and you could do 3 calls. Well, actually, you couldn't do 3 calls in 1 week because I only do them on Tuesdays. But you could do once a week for 3 weeks on Tuesdays, and that's the mentoring package. All right, enough of that. But anyway, Marco and I are working out his mentoring package, when he's going to start. He's getting ready to start at the end of this month, probably, or the earliest part of July. And in our email exchange this morning, before I went into the gym, I looked at his email, and he wrote a postscript at the bottom of his email. You know, the little PS message at the bottom. He says, "Oh, PS, did you finally get to 180 last week?" So Marco obviously listens to the podcast. He heard episode 546, and he's interested to know, Cliff, you strongly stated you were going to absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, you were going to be 180 pounds or less by May 30th. So he writes, P.S., did you finally get to 180 last week? Fair question. Absolutely fair question. And I told him, I said, listen, I will answer your question, but I probably will do it in a podcast episode, because I would venture to guess that there are a lot of people, I would venture to say a few thousand people, who might be interested in my response to that question. And I want to tell you, I want to confess to you that this morning, Friday, June 8th, I weighed in at 191 pounds. Okay? I weighed in at 191 pounds. So did I make it to 180? The answer is no. I confess to you that I did not. I am not perfect. And I want to share with you an update. By the way, if you have not heard episode number 549 and you want the whole backstory of this before you go any further into this episode, you can look for episode 546 in the feed. That's only, 3 episodes or 4 episodes back or whatever. Anyway, you can go back to episode 546 and listen to it in your podcast feed, or if it's been years later and you just happen to be upon the site, and anyway, you can go to mindsetanswerman.com/546, and it'll take you directly to that podcast episode. You can play it on the website or from the website. That's mindsetanswerman.com/546. So what happened? Now, first thing I want to tell you is that I had so much passion, so much firmness in my commitment, so much belief in that message that what I will tell you is going to sound shocking. Now, I'm going to look into MyFitnessPal, which is where I track my weight. I actually do weigh myself every single day. And I am going to go all the way back to, let's say, May 10th. There's May 9th. I wonder when I did that actual live stream. I'm going to pause for a second and look this up. Okay, so I'm looking right here, and I see that I recorded that live stream as a practice session for the Free the Dream conference on May 4th was when the actual live stream happened. Now, that live stream was a couple days after I actually came to the realizations and this new belief about how I was going to change my identity and therefore take new actions based upon that new identity, that new standard that I was setting for myself of expectations from myself about who I am and how I show up in the world. And so I look back, and those things happened. It occurred to me on April 30th when I actually weighed on Monday, April 30th. I weighed 200 pounds. So I had actually I was below 200, and then I went all the way down to like 194.5, and I went all the way back up to 200 eventually. And then I'm like, okay, whoa, 200, no way. Not going over this thing, need to get back down, all the way back down over the course of a couple days or even a week or two, all the way back down to 195. But then I find myself creeping back up all the way to Monday, April 30th. Monday, April 30th, I weighed 200 pounds. And that's the day I'm like, oh, no, this is the last time I'm going to be 200. And this has to change. And I happen to believe that the reason why I keep struggling and I hover right up to 200 is because my identity was I'll never be above 200. And I'm comfortable as long as I'm under 200. As soon as I hit 200, I get uncomfortable enough to make changes that cause me to get right back down underneath it. And I said, you know what? I am going to shift my identity. And of course, I already adopted that new identity. And starting May 1st, I started changing things. Now, I will tell you again, I said this very clearly in episode 546. I make no recommendations for what you should do as far as nutrition and physical activity. I recommend you seek the advice of some medical professionals about what kind of exercise is appropriate for you, what kind of nutrition changes are appropriate for you. I am not a nutritionist. I only do things based upon what I've researched and stuff like that. Now, I will tell you that I have been working out 6 days a week, every week for more than 3.5 years, and I have conditioned my body. I was already at the place where I was working out a minimum of 45 minutes a day for 3.5 years. And for me to go to the gym, I've conditioned myself to see that as my most awesome time of the day. I look forward to it. For me to go to the gym and spend 2 hours a day every day is not a struggle. It's something I look forward to. And most days I work out for a minimum of 2 hours. Now, today I worked out for an hour. So it's not every day I'm doing 2 hours, but the thing is I work out a lot and I've conditioned my body to do so. So when I made this change, I'm like, I know some things that I can do. I can increase the intensity of my workouts because I'm conditioned to be able to do so without hurting myself and not only without injuring, but without even exhausting myself. I can up the intensity. I can even go, instead of an average of an hour per day, I can go 2 to 3 hours a day. And I can also jump on my bike and go ride and do 50-mile rides for 5.5 hours. And I did a couple of those. And I did, if I wasn't going out for a 40 or 50-mile bike ride during a nice, beautiful, sunny day, then I would be in the gym and I would do a minimum of 2 hours on the Stairmaster coming out of the gym, absolutely soaking wet with sweat. So, and I also knew about intermittent fasting and some other things that I have learned that I could adopt. And as a result of that, all of these things, it's like, hey, this isn't going to be difficult. This isn't going to be challenging. This is my identity. This is who I am. These are the actions that I'm going to take. This is how I'm going to do it. So on Monday, April 30th, I weighed 200 pounds. Now, I do not want to hear anybody email me and say, Cliff, that is not healthy, my friend. Trust me, I'm only doing what I am doing, and I am working with medical professionals. I have a nutritionist. I have people in my life, my medical doctor. I also have some other fitness professionals in my life that are very much aware of the kinds of things that I'm doing. But man, when you go on a 50-mile bike ride, that is actual in combination with intermittent fasting, which I am not recommending for anyone. I'm only describing, not prescribing. But as a result of from April 30th to May 1st, on April 30th, I woke up, I weighed 200 pounds. On May 1st, the next day, I weighed 197. And on the next day, Wednesday, May 2nd, I weighed 194.5. On Thursday, May 3rd, I weighed 193. On Friday, May 1st or 4th, I weighed 191. And on Sunday, May 6th, I weighed 188.5. So what does this mean? I went from, what was it? Was it Monday? From Monday, April 30th, I was 200 pounds. And then on Monday, within 1 week, I went down to 188.5. Now, I've committed, I'm no longer going to try to do math live. So I'm pulling up my calculator here. I'm going to do 200 pounds minus 188.5. And that tells me I lost 11.5 pounds in 1 week. I lost 11, those last 10 pounds that are the hardest, the ones that, nobody can do this, blah, 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 blah. You know what? I lost 11.5 pounds in 1 week without, for me personally, being that I spent 3.5 years conditioning my body to be able to do 20 hours of working out. Okay? And I will tell you that I was eating extremely healthy. I was eating plenty of calories. Matter of fact, I was eating well over 2,000 calories per day. Well over 2,000 calories per day every day that week. It's just I was eating the right calories and I was eating them at the right times, and it was intermittent, and I was working that week. I can tell you right then, it was full on what they call ketosis. It was everything. It all worked together. And if I wanted to, if I truly stayed committed to that, I could have done it in another week, and I would have actually hit the 180 in 2 weeks. But the thing is, I didn't do it within 2 weeks. Why? Because, well, I had until May 30th. And well, why push it? And here's the thing, okay? So it's not that it's difficult to lose those pounds, because I know exactly how to lose them. I will tell you, losing weight is simple. It is simple if you have spent the time conditioning your body for intense physical activity, and provided that the doctor approves you for such physical activity, and provided that you learn the nutritional way your body works. And by the way, everybody's a little bit different in some of their approach to sugar, carbs, and all this other stuff. And the types of foods you eat and how they affect you and how they affect your weight loss and gain. But I've spent well over 3.5 years trying to figure all of that out for my body. So this isn't stuff that I just developed in like, boom, overnight. It's like I just made a decision and boom, I lost 11.5 pounds. No, this is a whole lot more that goes into this. But here's the deal. I got down to, what did I say? 189.5. But here I am, June 8th, and I'm 191. What the heck? Now, I will tell you, I have been hovering somewhere between 190 to as high as 195 ever since then. So right after I hit that 189.5, the very next day, I weighed 190. And since then, I have been, I weigh myself every day. I have been 190 to 195. And the interesting thing is that I have, on a consistent daily basis, on a weekly basis, I can tell you, I'm still working out somewhere between 10 to 15 hours a week. And that's pretty high intensity workouts. We're still talking on average 2 hours per day on the Stairmaster. Or if I'm not at the gym doing 2 hours a day on the Stairmaster, I'm on my bike, and I'm usually, I will usually go no less than 30 miles on my bike, and I will do as much as, and I have done as much as 65 miles on my bike so far this season. And I'm actually thinking this Sunday I may do Ride Cincinnati, which is a 100-mile bike ride. By the way, if I do that 100-mile bike ride and I get some things kicked into action, I could actually be at 180 probably by next week, by next Friday. But there's something about this shift in identity, and I can tell you right now, while I do believe on May 4th, when I originally recorded the live stream that I shared on May 10th here in the episode, in the podcast form, I do believe I shifted my identity, and that's why I lost 11.5 pounds in 1 week. But something happened in that it's kind of like that identity wasn't reinforced. It wasn't conditioned on a daily basis beyond that week. And I will tell you that I have, unintentionally, unconsciously, I've gone back to this. I'll never be above 200. I'll never be above that. That's the identity I've defaulted back to now. And I'm like, why is this? And here's the thing. I could give you the excuses. I know exactly what's going on. And some of this is evaluation. All right. So one of the things I talk a lot about, how to achieve any goal you want in life. And I know for a fact that I can achieve anything that I want by, number one, believing it's possible. Number two, writing it down. Number three, telling other people about it. And there's some other things. I've learned some other distinctions as well, such as decide to take immediate action, and all these other things. But when it comes down to it, there are 4 things that we need to do to achieve success in anything we want to achieve. And I'm going to give you those 4 things. Number 1, you need to know what is your ultimate outcome. What is it that you want? I want to be 180. All right. I want to be under 180. That's what I want to be. Number 2, after you decide what is it you ultimately want, desire, or you must have, actually, no, it's what do you want first. Number 2 is you must decide to make it, to change it from a want to something that must happen. You have to decide this must occur. There is no decision means I am killing off any other option other than that of which I'm in pursuit of. All right. So you must decide to change it from a want to a must. It must happen. And at the same time of making, you never leave the point of making a decision without deciding also what actions you will instantly take right now. And you must take those actions. There has to be initial actions that are going to go along with the decision. If you've actually decided something and have not determined what actions you're going to take right now immediately or within the next 24 hours, then that really wasn't a decision. So step 2, step 1 is know your outcome. Step 2 is decide and take immediate action. And then step 3 is evaluate your results. So that's where I am today. I'm evaluating my results. And a lot of people might think, well, gosh, Cliff has failed. And I don't see what I have achieved over the past month as failure at all. What I see is, okay, I'm evaluating what happened. Well, within 1 week of making that decision, proclaiming, within 1 week, I lost 11.5 pounds. How? By the way, what does that do for me? Number 1, it reinforced this idea and this belief. It reinforced my belief that it is possible to easily, simply lose 11.5 pounds in 1 week if I have, in fact, conditioned my body to be able to do that level of intensity. And I have spent years, more than 3.5 years, learning how food impacts my body. Okay? So I have learned, so my belief that it's easy to lose those pounds, it's confirmed. So that evaluation stands. That there's nothing to tell me that I couldn't lose. I'm 191 this morning. Could I lose 11.5 pounds this week by next Friday if I truly decide to do it? Yes. The answer is yes. There's no question in my mind. Can I do it? But what I have to do is I have to say, okay, what actions have I taken, and what has caused, if I want the point of step 3, evaluating your results, is to evaluate, okay, after taking the actions that I said I was going to take, have I achieved my goal? So, well, first of all, yeah, after the first week, the actions I took, I was on my way towards my goal, way faster than I thought that I would. But for whatever reason, I decided to back off the fire hose, if you will, of intensity and of workouts. And I also gave myself a lot more flexibility in my nutrition. I'll get into that more in just a second. But what I found is that I'm like, I've got 3 more weeks until I have to hit 180. It's okay for me to take some of this extra margin in calories and eat it up with snacks. And so I still had some old patterns, some old conditioned habits, if you will, in the way that I eat. And it's not like I'm eating unhealthy snacks, but I will tell you that I'm evaluating the results that I got, and I look at the fact that I've been hovering ever since I hit that 189.5. The next day I'm 190, and then all of a sudden I'm hovering between 190 to 195. And I have been doing that consistently, even though I'm working out 2 hours a day on average. Now I need to evaluate those results. So I know what actions I've taken over the last several weeks that's got me to hover between 190 to 195. And now I need to evaluate. And so step 3 is evaluate the results. Have I achieved my goal, my outcome of 180 by May 30th? No, I have not. Wow. Okay. So what's step 4? Change your approach. Change your approach. Now, the thing is I already had an approach, so I do know that I could go back to some of the initial actions. I could go back to those intense workouts, and I could go for a couple more, 50, 60-mile rides. I may actually, and I haven't yet decided if I'm going to go on a 100-mile ride, which is it's an event in Cincinnati, a 100-mile bike ride with a couple thousand people, or maybe it's a couple hundred people. Anyway, it seems like a couple thousand. It's basically we take over the road, all of us cyclists. But anyway, I will probably do that. So probably is not a decision. I need to work on that one as well. Anyway, so the thing is I may do that on Sunday. And if I do, I know for a fact that man, I'm well on my way. But I also have to. What else do I need to evaluate those actions? Well, first of all, during that week that I lost 11.5 pounds doing the intermittent fasting with all of these other things, I can tell you that it took me away from some of the things that I was doing in my business, and I have business goals as well. And prior to May, in the entire month of April, my biggest priority in my business was marketing the Free the Dream conference. And I was selling, so far sold more than we're over $33,000 in tickets sold for the Free the Dream conference so far, which is pretty incredible given that it's not until September. Most of that, I would say over 30,000 of it happened during the month of April because I was personally one-on-one doing lots of things in my business to generate those sales. Now, in the month of May, I only generated an additional $3,000 to $5,000 of sales and tickets. What's up with that? And I can tell you what's up with that. Instead of spending time sitting in here in the office doing things like the things that I was doing in April, which is tons of personal video outreach to people that I have relationships with, people I know who would be interested if I would personally reach out to them. All the things that I did in April, if I would do that again in the month of May, I would have sold another $30,000 in tickets to the event. But I didn't. Instead, I was focusing all that time, effort, and energy on this goal of these workouts. But then what happened was I found myself, right around the second week, I found myself not having as much energy in my day. And so while the intermittent fasting was working and the things, but the thing is I was going just a little bit too extreme, and I allowed myself a little bit more margin, and I found myself still doing all the workouts. But what happened was I was working less in my business, at least on the marketing. I was still keeping up with everything in the Next Level Mastermind. That's continued to grow. Some other one-on-one mentoring that I've been doing, that's been extremely awesome. There's been also some people that I've been pro bono working with that is, investing in them, and it's been the results there have been rewarding, and just all the things that are going on in my business that have to happen, that I'm already committed to people that I will be there and I will serve you in this way, in this capacity. That's all happened in the month of May, but Free the Dream marketing completely went to the wayside, and I'm starting to emotionally feel a little bit of pressure. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't have another month like this. And the fact that the ticket sales aren't just selling, the conference isn't just selling itself, because really in the month of May, what is it? A couple of brief mentions at the end of a podcast episode, no emails at all sent to my mailing list, and no personal outreach to anybody. So it's like how, and a little bit of less energy as a result of the different way of doing things nutritionally and in exercise and intensity. I backed off of that, but I'm still working out. I'm not, and then all of a sudden I'm starting to feel like, oh my gosh, I feel a little bit of an emotional strain and pressure. And I found myself, and this is what I'm evaluating my results. I'm evaluating my results here. And I'm doing it with you guys, just confessing to you guys where I'm at. And I can tell you right now that I had, during the past 3 to 4 weeks, I have allowed myself to get back into this old pattern or habit of binge snacking. And and I've turned to it as kind of an emotional coping mechanism. So I can tell you right now that I still have a struggle of emotional eating. And what I mean by what is emotional eating? Well, one thing is I don't feel great. You know what? Let me just lay it on the line. I don't feel good about. I feel bad. I feel emotionally bad about the fact that I didn't do as much as I should have, what I feel that I should have done in the month of May to market Free the Dream. And as a result of that, I feel, I don't know if there's a little bit of guilt in that. I don't know if there's a little bit of shame in that. If there's a little bit of just, I feel like I should have done that, and I didn't. And I feel emotionally, I feel bad about that. And when someone feels bad, there's what we call pain associated with feeling bad. That's pain is feeling bad. Feeling bad is pain. And I want to do something that will help alleviate that pain. And I still have some hardwiring that I'm dealing with, that I'm working on, that I am working on reconditioning my mind and establishing some new neuro associations, associating what is pain and pleasure when it comes to food. But for whatever reason, there's still this thing that, man, if I eat this, and by the way, the snack that I have been binge snacking. But let me just say, my binge snacking in the past, in my very unhealthy days, binge snacking used to be like a bag of Doritos and a pint of ice cream and chocolate chip cookies that are 550 calories, and eating 2 of those a day. Those are the kinds of things that used to be my binge snacking. Today, my binge snacking is 100 calories of Smart Food popcorn that's white cheddar. My binge snacking might be a 100 calories of mini pretzels. My binge snacking might be a protein bar that has only 1 gram of sugar in it, but it's 200 calories and stuff like that. And my binge snacking most recently may even be a half pound or a full pound of strawberries, which I know could be considered a sugary treat and blah, blah, blah. But it for me, that I don't consider strawberries to be a sugary treat. And that's only been recently that they've come into the house. But I have noticed that I have been turning to these snacks. And here's the deal. I go to the gym. I burn 1,000 active calories, not total calories, 1,000 active calories. So let's just say my goal is to eat 1,600 calories per day, which would allow me to, if I stayed at 1,600 net calories per day, I would lose 2 pounds per week. That's where I am physically right now. 1,600 calories consumed per day would net me 2 pounds lost per week on the scale. And that's my goal. Sometimes I'll eat less than that because the kind of foods that I would typically eat if I was eating the way that I know I want and should eat, it's actually kind of difficult to eat the right. If you're eating the right foods, it's actually sometimes difficult to get all the way up to those 1,600 calories. And you have to kind of get creative about how you're going to do that. But not if I'll come home from the gym, I'll do intermittent fasting, and the next thing you know, I've burned 1,000 calories at the gym. So technically I could eat 2,600 calories during that day and still lose 2 pounds at the end of the week. But then I'll come home and then I won't eat until noon. And at noon, I might eat 800 calories, but all good, healthy, natural foods and stuff like that. And then in the afternoon, I will probably have one meal bar, which is only another 200 calories. And Then I may have dinner with the family, and depending on what we have, I still may have. I'll get myself all the way to that 1,600 calorie, or I might even hit 1,800 calories that day. But even if I hit 1,800 calories after all of those meals, I still have 800 more calories that I could eat that day and still lose 2 pounds at the end of the week. 800 calories. Now, again, this is confession time to you. I will tell you that somewhere between lunch and dinner, and then after dinner, I'm actually eating all 800 to 1,000 calories of those 100 calorie snacks. It's crazy. I'm like, why do I do this? Every morning when I come from the gym, it's like, okay, I'm not going to do that today. But at the end of the day, I found that I've done it. 4 bags or 5 bags of those white popcorn, white cheddar Smart Food popcorn. They're 5 100 calorie bags. That's 500 calories. 3 bags of 100 calorie pretzels. And the pretzels are actually carbs, but still I'm okay with that. I'm not a no carb guy. But then there's, I eat half a thing of strawberries. That's another 50 calories there. And you know what? I'm going to have an ounce or 2 of cheese. And next thing you know, I eat all those calories. I went to the gym. I burned 1,000 calories. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I've eaten all those calories. Now I'm still within my calorie budget, but I'm right at my calorie budget. So at the best, I'm going to lose 2 pounds by the end of the week. Or worst case scenario, I stay the same. And that's what's been going on since then. Now, I can tell you right now, I do believe everything that I shared in episode 546. And for whatever reason, I have allowed myself to be driven by the identity of a guy who will never be above 180 for 1 week. And boy, did I lost 11.5 pounds. But what I did to get me there was in competition with other goals. So that I do know that. So what I have to do now is I need to figure out a way. Number one, I need to attack my snacking thing. This emotional eating and emotional eating. There's no question that when I taste that food, this is what I believe. When I taste that flavor of the white cheddar flavoring on that popcorn, it tastes good, and that taste good gives me a feeling good, and it takes away some of the pain for just a moment while I'm tasting something and I'm feeling good. You can't feel good and feel bad at the same time. And so therefore it alleviates any of the pain of not feeling good about feeling bad about the fact that I'm not marketing Free the Dream. and the salt tastes good. The sweetness of those strawberries tastes good. The sharpness of my extra sharp cheddar cheese, that the pleasure of that food is giving me pleasure. And you know what? I'm able to eat all of these snacks that are somewhat healthy. It's, I've worked out. I can do all of this. And you know what? It's not going to cause me at the end of the week. I'm really not going to gain weight. I'm going to stay somewhere between 190 to 195. And quite frankly, I'm comfortable with that. But at the same time, in the morning, I'm not comfortable with it. But in the evening, I am comfortable with it. And I just got to share with you that's the confession. That's where I'm at. That's what's going on right now. I'm thankful that I've not been over 195 since then. But I do need to work that out. And so step number 1, know your outcome. Step number 2, decide and take immediate action. Step number 3, evaluate your results. And step number 4 is change your approach if you haven't yet achieved the outcome. That's step number 4 is change the approach. And so I do need to take a different approach in the month of June. And by the way, I have already started to do so, except for the fact that it's only right now. I mean, I've been journaling before I go into the gym each morning, and I have been journaling about the fact that I do realize the snacking's gotten back out of control, and if I wasn't working out, I'd be gaining weight. And it's something I'm definitely going to work on. But the thing is I know that I need to do something different than I did in the first week of May, and I also need to take a different approach to the amount of workouts compared to the amount of time working, because absolutely, okay, Free the Dream needs to be put back on the priority burner, the front burner priority, and it has. And by the way, I've already sold a few $1,000s worth of tickets this week alone. So I know I'm back on target for that. And but here's the thing. I need to find a way to balance all of this stuff. And I know that one of the things is that when I actually get back into selling the Free the Dream tickets and I start seeing those ticket sales come in just like they did in April, that will relieve the pain, the emotional pain, or that not feeling good feeling about the fact that I haven't been doing something that I feel like I should be doing and that needs to happen and blah, 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 blah. So I know that once I get back into, and now that I have gotten back into, I know that I'm going to be less tempted to quote unquote stress eat, emotional eat, whatever you want to call that. But here's the deal. I'm still thankful for the last several weeks because it still has helped me to understand. I still need to work on this whole idea of emotional eating, because guess what? If it's not the fact that I haven't spent the time I should be on marketing Free the Dream, there's going to be other stresses in my life. Other things are going to cause pain. Other things are going to cause discomfort. And I have to get to the place where I deal with pain and discomfort in a way that's different than eating food to take my mind off of any discomfort or pain that I feel. So that is something I'm still working out, and that's where I am at. And I wanted to share that with you. And I thought that it might be beneficial for you to hear that update from me and to let you know that I'm not perfect, but I still firmly believe in everything I shared with you in 546, except for the fact that for whatever reason, I seem to be a little bit hesitant about where my identity at this point. It's almost as though my identity has kind of rubber banded as like, I'll never be above 195. And I don't know if some of it is trying to say, you know what? Here I am. How do I have an identity of 180 when I'm actually over 180? And so part of me is that. Part of me is, I don't know. I'm working this stuff out. Somebody asked me after I do this, how do you change your identity? Well, that's something I'm working out as well. Although sometimes it is as simple as adopting it, making the decision. And here's what I do know is working to condition it. I'm not gonna. By the way, something else. Something else drastically changed, and this evaluation did not occur to me. So conditioning is so important, and I hesitate to share this. There are 3 people in my life that I consider to be my support. My go-to people for support, accountability. 3 people in my life. My wife is one of them. And then there are 2 other human beings that I turn to for support. And my goal is for the other 2 people that are not my wife is to talk to them once per week about what's really going on in life. The nitty-gritty, the thoughts that you typically don't share with other people, what those thoughts are, how they're impacting me, blah, blah, blah. And also for them to have that opportunity to share those with me. I track that as a habit in my habit tracking app. And I do know that those calls have not happened with those 2 people outside of it. We all have seasons in life, even with our closest friends, and so I don't place any blame. I have reached out to some of them, but it is what it is. But this is still on me. But I do evaluating things. I do know that my own accountability has not been what I know is the most effective and beneficial. And I'm going to take ownership right now. One action that I'm going to take is after this recording, I am going to reach out to both of those people and say, listen, I need you. I desperately need to talk to you. And I would love it if we could get back to once a week. But if not, I at least want you to hear what's going on. And if we could touch base, more often than we are currently, I'd love to just, say, hey, why aren't you doing this? Stop it. I need that in my life. And so that's an evaluation. And another thing that happened, I just realized Stephanie, my wife, had surgery the second week in May, which she was my daily workout partner. And that daily conversation every single day to the gym and home from the gym, every single day we would have that conversations related about these kind of things. And she had surgery. She had a hysterectomy, and she had 2 hardcore weeks of no activity. She's halfway through 6 weeks of total recovery. She has been cleared to work out, but she hasn't yet decided to get back into her workouts. I think she will probably start that on Monday again. And I know as soon as she starts going to the gym and we have those conversations, I know that those are things that lead to conditioning my mind to stay focused on those things and to make those decisions. And anyway, again, none of this is to blame anybody else. It's all my decisions. It's all where I'm at. But one thing I know that I can be more intentional about, some actions that I'm going to take. So number one, I know my outcome. Number 2, I decided and I took immediate action. Now I've got some results. Just over a month later, I have some results. And now I'm going to change my approach based upon what's happened. It's like, so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to reach out to my 2 friends and say, I really personally need some accountability. I need to have you guys reach out to me, or I need to reach out to you. Are you still up for this? I'm gonna talk to my wife and see if I can't get her back to those trips to and from the gym. She's definitely able to, do some shorter workouts, and we've talked about how that would fit in, and she wants to do it. So I'm going to work on that. And I'm going to focus a great deal of time, effort, and energy on working on my motivation and my beliefs about food and that pain and that pleasure. And I'm going to get my snacking under control. If I do that alone is going to help. But not only do I need to condition my mind a little further related to snacking, I need to work on that area. I need to get some accountability in that area, some commitments to these people, having them follow up with me, and me not wanting to let them down. Those kind of things are going to be helpful. And, the workouts are still fine. I'm still doing this morning I did 1 hour, but every other day I've done 2 hours on the Stairmaster, or I've been on these long bike rides. And I don't know why I haven't firmly decided on Sunday that I'm doing that 100-mile ride. I've done Ride Cincinnati every year for the last several years. So why wouldn't I do it this year? It's this Sunday, I believe. And so, I'll probably do it, but I should make that decision right now. But I probably should talk to my wife first. So that's on my list today too. But on top of all of that, one thing I'm going to do to help alleviate some of the anxiety or stress or emotion that has been leading to some of this, I'm going to go crazy on the marketing for the Free the Dream conference. That alone, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell another $30,000 worth of tickets this month by the end of June. So not only will I will be under 180 by the end of June, but I will also have an additional $30,000 in ticket sales sold for the Free the Dream conference. That's my decision. I know what actions I'm going to take to get there, and that is an update. So my confession, but it's actually telling you, hey, it's not the steps to success aren't know your outcome, make a decision and take immediate action, and then celebrate your success. Although if you do take immediate action and you do achieve your goal right out of the gate, then yeah, step 3 is celebrate your success in achieving your outcome. All right. But actually the formula for success is know your outcome, take immediate action, or decide and take immediate action. Step 3, evaluate the results you got from the actions you've taken. And then if you haven't achieved your outcome, change your approach. Evaluate why I did not fail over the past few weeks. What I have done is I've got new distinctions about what has worked and new distinctions about what has not worked, new distinctions about what's motivating me, new distinctions about things that I need to fix and things that I need to work on, and new actions. I am taking new actions, changing my approach based upon what I have learned. And through all of this, I'm able to consider all of this a success because now I'm able to better serve people who are also struggling, even though they initially know exactly what they should do. But why is it that this didn't work? It's not failure. It's not because these last few pounds are harder to lose than any others. No, there's other things that are here, and now I'm aware of them. And I would have never been aware of them had I not made the goal and had not actually taken action so that I could evaluate the results. And so therefore, I consider the month of May to be a huge success and a win in my life. But now I'm ready to take what I've learned and to succeed even further in my fitness goals and in the marketing of Free the Dream. By the way, if you have not done so already, I encourage you, please, right now, go to freethedream.live. Not .com, freethedream.live, Live, and register for your ticket today. As I am recording this, there are only 9 VIP tickets left available. There are plenty of the standard tickets, but there are only 9 VIP tickets. And I would love to have you at the Free the Dream conference. If you have any question whatsoever about whether or not Free the Dream is a good fit for you, I'm willing to personally jump on a video Zoom call with you for 15 minutes and answer any questions you have about the conference. And I promise you this, if it's not a good fit for you, if the conference and what you're hoping to get out of it, if the conference will not provide that for you, and it's not the intention, the goal, the focus of the conference, I will tell you. But if it is, and you might be on the fence and it's like, well, I don't know, Cliff, I'm not looking to build a business. You don't have to be building a business. It's certainly going to be very beneficial for people who are building their own business, who are all working on doing the work that they feel most called to do in this world full time. It's certainly for those people. But there are some of you out there who have a day job, you're the employee in a company, and you feel that that's where God has you. There are some of you who are in ministry and you're doing ministry work and that's what your true calling is, and you don't feel this entrepreneurial passion, but there are still some things that are holding you back and some dreams that you have, and you're just wondering, is the conference right for me? If you're not sure, if you're not ready to go to freethedream.live right now and register for a ticket, then email me, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. That's my email address, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. Email me and in the subject line say 15-minute call, Free the Dream. And say, Cliff, I'd like to set up a 15-minute call with you to ask you whether or not Free the Dream would be a good fit for me and what I'm hoping to achieve. I would love to have that conversation with you. Send me an email, or I would love to see your registration come through for Free the Dream over at freethedream.live. Until next time, my friends, I encourage you to just be authentically yourself. Never feel like you have to be more than who you are. Don't be afraid to boldly proclaim what you know to be true. and exclaim it and teach it and share it with the world. And don't allow yourself ever to be lied to by anyone, including yourself, that if you don't live up to every single thing you know to be true, everything you believe, if you fail to live your life according to every minutia of everything you teach, then you're a failure. That's a lie. Just be yourself. Be honest. Share who you are. Here's the thing. Share your successes. Share your struggles. Share your obstacles. Share what you're learning. Always be learning. Always be teaching. And that allows you to grow and contribute, which are the two things that bring fulfillment in all of our lives. I encourage you to do more and more of that as we see the day approaching. Until next time, my friends, I encourage you to take every area of your life to the next level.